What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another AFK Journey video. Alright guys, shout out to Pride1 first off for putting this tier list together. It is fairly damn accurate. Now if you have not been playing the beta, you're missing out. This game is incredible. AFK Journey is coming out March 27th. Remember, it is going to be a huge one when it drops. Of course, Solo Leveling and Rising is coming as well too, which is another big title. So March is going to be a big deal for a lot of gacha games. So before we get into the actual live game on March 27th, I do want to talk about this tier list to help you guys understand who you want to go for when it's time to actually summon. Now remember, there's going to be a wish list eventually in the game that you can summon on, and at the same time these characters are going to be dropping up plenty, so don't worry about it. No one here is like elite or rare. You're gonna get them most likely. You're probably gonna get a chance to get every character. What matters most, of course, is duping and then leveling these characters up and getting their epic and then legendary etc versions of them, because dupes do matter quite a bit in this game, but they're not necessarily everything. Now with this tier list, it's broken down to a couple ways, and I think this is really well put together. So thank you to again for Pride1 for doing this. There's story mode, of course, which is going to be the brunt of the game, but there's the dream realm as well too, which has different bosses that you can fight, and then of course there's actual PvP. So let's go over some of the characters here. So Vala is an assassin character on the human side. You can see here early on, mid game, late, she stays pretty heavy in terms of DPS and where she lands. She is a really good unit. And then for Dream Realm, she's okay for Skyclops, Croaker, but Necro Draken, she's really good, and Snowstopper, she's okay. PvP, she's not bad. The biggest issue I find with her, obviously, is the fact that she's a back unit and she's pretty squishy. So that's always been my issue with her. Thorin, on the other hand, is the best tank in the game, easily by far. Brutus and him are probably my favorites. So Thorin here is S+, all the way across the board. Practically going to be a necessity unit for tanking, especially, even on bosses. Like, the thing with tanks, you want to make sure someone can soak and not die. That way your DPS can do their jobs. Thorin easy is one of the best. Now you're going to notice something that's going to be pretty common here, that the undead units are probably some of the best units in the game, and that's something you're going to have to get used to, unfortunately. At least for me they are, right? And we'll see in the tier list how far they go. So Rowan, this is one of my favorite AFK Arena units, but also an energy battery. This is something you definitely want on your team. Now, I don't know if I agree necessarily for Dream Realm about him being A. I'd probably put him in S across the board because of the amount of energy regen he provides all of your units, and the fact that he does heal a little bit, and you can pretty much like dish out more damage because of that. So I do agree with S+. I would even put S+ late, to be honest here. I would change these to S most likely, and then S+ here for PvP for sure. He is a must-have unit in my opinion. I'm using him still up to this point and having a blast doing so. Raynor, to be honest with you guys, I haven't had a chance to use, so I'm going to take this as gospel here. The fact that he's S+ across the board, that's pretty damn insane to see that. And you can see here's the best CH. He's a chaos character who already works with a single copy. Unlike the other characters in this faction, he can switch positions between allies, enemy, disrupt the backline. Best Dream Realm debuffer with EX weapon unlocked. So yeah, gonna be one of those units you definitely want to get. I actually haven't had a chance to use them, so I wouldn't know much about that, but I'll take their suggestion obviously on this one. Huan here, best healer in the game for sure. Remember, there's a difference between a healer and Rowan, who is an energy battery, right? So you can see here for in terms of PvE, she's incredible. You definitely want her on your team for that regard. For Dream Realm, the thing with Dream Realm is healing doesn't really necessarily translate to good scores, right? You definitely just want to, the whole point here is to do as much damage as you possibly can on these bosses to get close to that 100% chest mark as you can. So a lot of the times, like shielders, tanks that can survive will be more than enough. So she doesn't really play a big role, and I agree here with the Dream Realm. And then PvP, obviously, PvP is important. Like, you want healers around, so she's actually a really good healer for that. Cecilia, now this is one of the units that you get early on. She's a summoner, great CC as well too. Undead. If they still give her to us for free, she's going to be one of the best units you're going to have for quite some time. In story mode, she's unstoppable. Literally, she'll carry your whole team for DPS. In terms of Dream Realm, a couple of these I would say S. Like Croaker, I think she was really good for. Snowstopper, I think she sucked actually. I remember that. And then maybe Necro Draken, I would say S as well too. Those two I remember she actually did really well for me personally. And then PvP, S makes sense. A lot of people are going to use her, so get used to her. But if we get her for free, you're set for quite some time for a good unit. Viperian here, AoE focused damage dealer who can one-shot whole teams, but on top of the damage, he can also drain energy. He's your usual drain unit. I think for early on, he's pretty S+. My opinion. I'm actually using him on my team, and he just doesn't die because of his drain. Now, in terms of Dream Realm, I agree here. He's not very good on bosses. the drain really isn't that useful. His AoE is not that useful. You want single target burst damage. PvP, he's incredible though. So if you are looking for a PvP unit, I'd go there. So I do for the most part agree there. Valen is a free unit that you get early on as well too. He's pretty decent early, but he really does drop really fast in the game. So I can totally see this happening here. Smokey and Murky are a support unit. Can heal and buff allies at the same time with an aura. So yeah, I do agree. I would actually, honestly, for Smokey and Murky, I'd probably put S+ here for all the story modes. I've used them across the board, and they're incredible for that. I do agree with the Dream Realm. They do really well. Snow Stomper, the problem with Snow Stomper is the fact that he does freeze you. So you can see a lot of the bonuses from the buffs and stuff drop off. PvP, honestly, I don't think I used him for PvP at all. Odie, man, what a unit. Amazing ranged unit, great for PvP and great for PvE. Easily attainable, is an A unit. Incredible poison damage, especially instantly killing off low HP units. Don't sleep on Odie. He's a hyena. Everybody doesn't like him because of that, but he's incredible. So yeah, I do agree with all these scores across the board. Amazing for bosses. I've used him for bosses every time, and he's never let me down. Leica, typical unit here for I can do it all kind of thing. Does do AoE, does do buff, I agree, jack of all trades, but doesn't really excel in anything, but still a really good unit to have. So if you're going to run the nature units, really good range units for sure. Corrin, honestly, for Corrin, I didn't use Corrin enough. So this is interesting to see here. So all the S+ here is incredible. So I was definitely missing out on that. But a really good unit that I use has a spear, if I recall, and is a good DPS for human side. Honestly, excels in everything except for PvP, which I do agree because I tried him in PvP and he wasn't that good. Granny is a tank, inferior to all the other tanks in my opinion, but still nonetheless, if you have her, you still want to use her, at least for story mode and PvP. She does take a lot of damage. You keep taking it, and doesn't die very easily, which is kind of what you want for your tank, right? So Brutus, this is interesting. S, A, and B. See, for me, I would say I'm probably still mid game. And he's been S+ for me across the board. And I don't know if it is weird because he's a warrior, but they label him as a tank, right? The immortality is nice. He does die fairly instantly after that. I do agree, but he does dish out a lot of damage. So I would put S for some of these here, or at least A's for these across the board. PvP, I think he's really good because the immortality does help, especially with the healer. So I don't know about this. I would say probably S+ here, S here, maybe A here. I haven't got to late game yet, but I think some of this needs to be altered a little bit. I personally love Brutus myself. And then you guys see here, from here we get to Walker, Themesia, Sylvania, Shaker, Scarlita, and Rice. These are all A units. They do increase over time, at least from Themesia up, in terms of their abilities from mid to end game. And you can see a few of these have pretty good boss strategies. So for example, Themesia here is pretty good for a tank. She's great in the story to disrupt enemy formations. And then she's annoying in PvP because of that. She has a lot of disrupts. I'm trying to see if there's anyone else here. Like Shaker, I really liked as a unit. I think I used him with Odie and what was the other unit that I used him with? Where's the Seth? There we go, Seth. On some of these bosses, and they actually performed really well together, so not a bad choice there. Lucius, you get early on as a tank. He's a shielder. He's going to be off tank for a very long time, so if you're looking for a decent shielder who's free, he's going to actually be able to carry you in story mode a little bit, but I do agree with the scores here. He does die eventually super easily after the shield does drop, but if you have him as an off tank, he's actually really good for that. Now, Morelli, you get fairly early on as well too, is actually a pretty good damage dealer. You guys can see here, from her, she's really meant for bosses, and I do agree she was really good for bosses for me. Use her quite often for that, and so far the tier list is pretty bang on, with a couple exceptions here. Now going down here, you can see we're getting to some of the worst characters here. We do have Arian, who's actually pretty good in story mode. I do agree, very good unit. Damien I actually used as well too, who can heal and support and buff. I think S here. I'll probably say ASS here, and PvP for sure S+. Carolina, I never used Carolina, so don't know much about her. And the rest of them look pretty damn... Now, Atalanta, I'm curious because I don't think I used... No, Kruger, here we go. So Kruger, this is what I want to talk about. This is one unit I want to see where they had. I agree, story mode, he's not very good, but his armor stripping abilities, his armor reduction is insane for bosses. I used him with Brutus very often as two, like one main tank, one off tank for armor strip, and I always beat the 100% scores for chest. So definitely Kruger is one that you definitely want to focus on, guys. So there you guys go. Pretty damn good tier list, I have to say. Very accurate. So remember, if you are looking for some of these units, majority of these units are going to be fairly easy to get. The ones that are going to be hard to get, guys, are going to be the Hypogenes and the Celestials, right? These two are going to be the harder units to procure. But as you guys can see here, the only one that really, really shines is Raynor. And again, you may get lucky and pull him if you do, but you don't need him because every other faction just has so many good units you can go through. So check out the tier list on Pride1. I'll put the link below, guys. This is absolutely accurate. I love it. And there you guys have it. March 27th. I'll see you guys there. Take care.